what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Hello and welcome to Stepping Up Service. I'm Alan Jackson of the Jackson Group and your co-host for this episode of Stepping Up Service, our podcast here on The Mesh dealing with the world of customer service. With me is my co-host Ed Gagnon from Customer Service Solutions. Ed, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Alan. How are you today?
Doing fine, doing great. Before we get into our conversation today, which is going to take a very Olympics theme to the discussion because we're right in the throes of Olympics. As you turn on the TV and turn on the news, that's pretty much all everybody's talking about right now. So we're gonna follow that trend and have a little bit of an Olympic theme to our discussion about customer service here in just a moment. Before we do, though, I'd like to go ahead and announce a sponsor we have for this show. We're very, very proud and happy to have with us as a supporter and a sponsor for this month's episode, the Greater Hickory Golf Classic, which is going to be going on here in Hickory, North Carolina this year, October 8th through the 14th. It is a premier golf tournament. Ed, I know you play some golf. You're a pretty avid golfer, right?
Oh, definitely. And I've actually, if I recall, that course that it's played on is Rock Barn.
That's correct. Rock Barn Golf and Spa.
Yeah, and I actually played there a few years ago. It's a beautiful course, and I'm familiar with the tournament, and I follow pro golf, and you have the senior PGA players playing there, a lot of big names. So that's exciting that that's the sponsor of this show, this episode. That's great.
Absolutely. We're glad to have them on board. I'm not a big golfer myself, but I love going to the tournament as a spectator, and just had a wonderful experience there the last several years. We're really excited to have that tournament back in our area once again this year, coming up October 8th through the 14th at Rock Barn Golf and Spa. Anybody who's listening to this show, you happen to be in the North Carolina area or make a special trip to come join us, we would love to see you out in October for that golf tournament. So, Ed, let's go from one sport to another series of sports as we talk about our today's discussion on customer service. What we're going to do today is something a little different, something I know we've tried to play with the format a little bit from time to time. This is going to be a little different, hopefully a little fun. I know before last time, I think we played a game where you gave me some stories and examples to respond to. I'm going to return the favor and actually give you some stories that I'm going to ask you to relate to the world of customer service. And
okay.
all the stories today have to do, of course, with the Olympics. Because like I said, we're right in the middle of that going on. People listening to this show, more than likely the Olympics are already finished by the time you listen to this. But keep in mind, that's where we are. That's where our minds are right now. So we're going to go ahead and play along with that theme. So what we're going to do, Ed, I've got 4 storylines so far from this year's Olympic Games, the ones being held in London.
Sure.
I've got 4 storylines that I'm going to throw out to you, and I want to see if you can relate them back to the world of customer service for me.
All right. That sounds like fun. All right. Let's give it a shot.
Let's see how you work on with this. I did some research and found these 4 storylines and thought, you know what? I think Ed might be able to connect the dots, but I'm curious where he's going to go with this. So you ready for this?
Sure.
Great. Well, let's go ahead and do the first one. All right. So, Michael Phelps, I hope I'm not spoiling it for anybody, listening to this podcast, but of course he's competing very well in the Olympics. He did set the record, I believe, for the most awards or medals won in the Olympic Games so far with some of the medals he took this week. But, we hear a lot about Michael Phelps and the fact that he eats, 7,000 calories a day, and they're at the pool by 6 a.m. in the morning every day for practice. And then along with those, the gymnast, the whole USA gymnast team is doing some great stuff. They're mentally walking through their routines every time before they do them. It's just a lot of preparation work going on for Olympics, for people competing in the Olympics. How do you relate those examples to the world of customer service for us?
Okay. Well, just so I understand, we're talking Michael Phelps, 7,000 calories, and gymnasts. So you're kind of throwing 2 totally different things at me, but I'm going to see if I can relate them together.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, Michael Phelps. Well, first of all, just a disclaimer: you said 7,000 calories. So just one point: unless you plan on having an Olympic career and winning 20+ medals, do not eat 7,000 calories a day.
Okay, I'm making a note to myself here. I'm writing down, Alan, do not eat that many calories a day. Yeah. Good.
What is it? A Coke is 150 calories. So that's like drinking 50 sodas in a day, or 10, 12 Whoppers in a day, or,
wow.
Maybe 40 glazed donuts. Actually, 40 glazed donuts would be okay.
I'm not hearing that part as being too uncomfortable for me there. So.
Yeah, donuts good, sodas, Whoppers, at least that many not so good. I guess the key takeaway here is the reason why he's doing that is because he's trying to give himself what he needs to be successful. And if you are somebody who competes at the highest level in sports and you're burning calories every day, you need to have calories to burn. So if we want to think about this in terms of customer service, if you're a customer service representative or you're in that kind of customer service role, you're going to be getting a lot of questions. You have to be very knowledgeable about your processes and your policies and your procedures and your products and those sorts of things. So one of the big takeaways here is if you want to be responsive to those customers, be able to answer those questions effectively, you got to build your knowledge. You have to invest in yourself, take the time to really, truly understand what are the processes for returns or for service recovery when there's a complaint, or what exactly are your product options that you can offer somebody if you can't give them exactly what they want. So in terms of the Michael Phelps example, just invest in yourself, prepare yourself for success.
So it's this whole preparation thing. So in other words, it's not just showing up necessarily for work and expecting to be able to deal with a customer service idea or situation or problem just right off the bat, just naturally. Sometimes it's going to take some preparation and homework to make sure you know everything about your product and your service before you try to tackle those things.
So that relates to Michael Phelps. For your gymnast example, we can pretty much go down the same road from a preparation standpoint, but think about this a little bit differently. I mean, what they are doing is they're mentally preparing to perform when they go through all those gyrations before they get on the floor exercise. I saw Jordan, I forget her last name. It was the one who was the gold medalist in the Worlds last year. And before she actually went on the floor exercise, she was just standing in position and going through all the moves. And for anybody who's in customer service, you also have to kind of mentally prepare yourself for that next call coming in, that next customer, that next encounter, because the previous call that you had or that previous customer or that previous encounter may have just sapped your energy, or maybe it challenged your attitude. So you need to have some kind of trigger so you can refocus between customers, refocus between calls. You kind of a vision for what success needs to look like at this next conversation. So prepare for each individual moment of truth.
And I think I may have even given this example in some of our previous episodes, but one thing that my brother had studied for a while having to do with kinesiology, the idea of, and some sports psychology, is this concept of when you get ready to play a match, it's almost this idea of envisioning the entire match in your head before you even go in to play it. So it sounds like that's what the gymnasts are doing, and what you're saying is you kind of need to reset your brain a little bit and go ahead and prepare yourself mentally for this experience that you're going to have. And if you just came off of a really, really, like you said, a very draining customer service example or a situation, you got to somehow flush that out of your system, I guess, right? You got to get that out of there, or else it's going to taint the rest of your experiences the rest of the day.
Right. You have to do that. For example, I mean, this is just a simple example, but if I'm in the road and the phone rings, my mind is somewhere. And what I do is I will look at that phone number before I pick up and say, okay, here's a customer, or here's a friend, or here's an opportunity, and I just get focused on that next opportunity or that next call that's coming. So I actually use the phone number of the person that's calling in, and I try to focus on that phone number to get my head right before I actually pick up the phone. So I'm not thinking about whatever it is that I was thinking about or distracted about 5 seconds earlier.
Especially in the healthcare field, we see staff having to deal with that situation a lot. Let's say you're a nurse or a caregiver or somebody attending to a patient, and you just came out of a patient's room, and it was a very tough experience. The patient was very irate, or else they were just very irritable about something. And you walk out of that room, that's still kind of carrying on in your brain for a little bit. But yet you've got to go to the next room, and you've got to go in with a fresh perspective in that next room as well. So it just sounds like it's not only mentally preparing, but also kind of flushing those previous experiences out of your memory to move on to the next one, or else it's going to keep carrying with you all day.
Right. So you got to prepare for that next moment. You got to prepare for that next customer mentally, even if it's just taking a few seconds to try to forget about what just happened and focus on what you want to happen this next time around.
Okay. All right. Well, let me throw you another example then. And this is one I think I just got a kick out of when I read the news about this. So this past week, as we're recording this here, 8 badminton players got expelled from the games for trying to lose. They were intentionally trying to lose the badminton match. All right, you got to tell me, what's the lesson here on a customer service side? Because I'm stumped.
The lesson is don't play badminton.
Okay, yes, perfect.
No, that was just a crazy, crazy story. I mean, you hear about all sorts of sports where there's unethical or illegal things going on. You never think about badminton, but the idea here is to have a goal. I mean, these folks had a goal, but you don't want to just have a goal of getting a medal. You want to have a goal that's somewhat positive. The goal should be to help the customer. Don't always have a goal that says, okay, I'm going to try not to get in trouble. These teams were trying to lose in order to avoid playing good teams in the next round. So they were trying to take the easy way to get to a medal match. But there was a lack of ethics in what they were doing, a lack of respect for the game. And there's also a lack of respect for the fans. I mean, the fans were booing like crazy during the game, and the players didn't care. They just wanted to get their medals. So you want to be respectful of the customer, do what's best for the customer. And when you're going into a conversation or going into a situation, you want to keep that goal in mind. What is best for the customer? And if you have customer-focused goals, those are the kind of goals you want to have for success.
Oh, you actually did tie those together. I was surprised to see how you were going to do that there. So I still think that's what a bizarre story, though, huh? I mean, yeah, of course, we all know, anybody who follows badminton, we know how unethical that sport is in general. Well, I just, when I heard that, I almost thought it was one of those joke headlines from the Daily Show or the Onion or something when I read about it, and I had to.
Yeah, and it's funny because you go to any other sport and they would have highlights and interviews and all this live action, and I've seen so many stories on it, but all I see are a couple still photos from the teams, and it's like, well, aren't you covering the badminton championship? It's high drama over there, but apparently no, just a couple of photographers are over there, and don't see a whole lot of tweets from the audience or the fans or the players. So it's just a different world, I guess, in the badminton world.
Wow. But obviously reeked with controversy and
yes.
High stakes intrigue and all backdoor dealings, everything. So
exactly.
It's good to know that even badminton doesn't escape some of the temptations that other sports do as well. So
yes. I hate to see what's going to happen with curling in the 2014 Winter Olympics. But
don't even talk. I was talking to my boys about curling the other day. I love watching curling. I don't know what it is about curling, but that is a fun sport to watch. Okay, Ed, I'm going to take a quick break for a second.
Sure.
I've got two more examples I'm going to throw at you after the break. You're listening to Stepping Up Service, and we'll be back in just a few moments.
Calling all golf fans. Don't miss your chance to volunteer for the 2012 Greater Hickory Classic, October 8th through 14th at Rock Barn Golf and Spa. There are over 18 different committees to choose from, including walking scorers, caddy support, and television, just to name a few. For more information on volunteering, visit us at www.greaterhickoryclassic.com or contact our tournament office at 828-459-4000.
Welcome back to Stepping Up Service. Again, I'm Alan Jackson, joined by Ed Gagnon from Customer Service Solutions. Ed, real quick, before we get back into our conversation, where can people learn more about Customer Service Solutions and the work you're doing there?
The easiest way is to go to cssamerica.com. That's cssamerica.com. And you can check out our Twitter site through that, our blog site, our weekly customer service tips, or just learn a little bit more about us as well. So lots of useful information on the site.
Great. And you stay pretty well connected with that stuff, too. I'm always seeing some new posts and new updates coming across all my social media feeds. So keep that up. That's always fun to read. And I'm with the Jackson Group. Of course, you can learn more about us at thejacksongroup.com, where we do a lot of employee and customer satisfaction surveys and consulting and leadership development work. You are listening to The Mesh. This is our network of podcasts here at themesh.tv. If this is a first time listening to the show and you like what you're hearing, you can actually go back on the website and listen to old episodes all the way back from where we got started, listen to all the various topics that we have available. And there's also other shows on the Mesh Network as well. We have a leadership development show called Leadership GPS. We have entertainment shows. We have a band show about some local music, parenting, all of these other topics you can imagine. They're all on themesh.tv, which is also available through iTunes. All of the shows and episodes there as well. If you've got any suggestions for us, you can reach us by email at info@themesh.tv. That's info@THEMESH.TV. And of course, we're on Facebook and Twitter as well. Just search for The Mesh TV and you can find us there. Okay, Ed, getting back to our Olympic stories, I am tossing out some Olympic news from this year's Olympics and having to see if you can relate them back to some sort of customer service lesson we can grab from that.
Yeah, how am I doing so far?
You're doing great.
Good.
The badminton one alone really just surprised me. I'll be quite honest. The preparation one about Michael Phelps, I kind of knew where you were going to go with that one. The badminton one, you got me there. That was a great connection. So
excellent.
Okay, so Ryan, and I'm having a struggle with the last name, Lochte, right? Lochte, right. Ryan yes. Lochte. I'm really bad with name pronunciations. But Ryan Lochte, I saw a lot of press about this guy, knowing 4 years ago he wanted to be in these Olympics, and he had created this big training regiment that would culminate with his success. I mean, he had this all planned out, long-term thinking on stuff, for his goals. There again, I feel like this is a little bit of a softball, but tell me how this relates to customer service for those of us in the business world.
Well, you really helped me out when you said long-term there, because
I kind of gave you it was a dead giveaway, wasn't it? So
that's okay. Maybe your last one will be harder, but when you say long-term, I immediately start thinking about one of the big differences between somebody who truly is customer service and customer retention focused and somebody who's more purely ring the bell sales oriented. I mean, folks who are customer service oriented, they do have long-term goals. They do think about how do I keep and manage this relationship for the long term, and they don't worry about losing one little transaction or losing $5 or $10 on a transaction, because they understand the lifetime value of that customer could be hundreds or thousands of dollars. And so if you think about long-term goals, I mean, that's a lot what Lochte had when he was thinking about this Olympics 4 years ago. I mean, reading, watching all the different stories about him, they constantly talk about his workout regimen, how he has these big tractor tires, and he's picking them up and he's rotating them. He's throwing them up and down, and he has all these kind of aggressive ways to work out and to get exercise. And he wanted to do something different. Part of it was he wanted to have a little bit of an intimidation factor. Part of that is he just wanted to be great. He wanted to be great by the year 2012. So he created a plan for it. And already in the Olympics, I think he has at least 4 medals already in the Olympics as of today. So he knew what he was doing. And it's that same way with organizations that care about customer service and retention. They have the long-term goal. They think long-term. They create a plan for it. They understand the big picture. And they don't worry about one little transaction more than they worry about the relationship for the long term. Be great at customer service and retention. You really do think long term.
So it's kind of like a team, a professional team or sport as well. When if you're an NBA team and you've got, how many games do they play in a typical season? I mean,
they have 82.
82 games they got to play. I mean, if you're a player that just gets so bent out of shape and upset about losing one game when your ultimate goal is to win the championship at the end of the year, you're going to set yourself down a path where you're not going to reach that goal. You've got to be able to, what you're saying is you got to be able to keep looking long term, not get so distracted by those short-term goals, but think about the big long-term goals in the end.
Right. That's exactly right.
And Ed, what's impressive to me about this is, 4 years planning and having a goal 4 years out. When I was this guy's age, I couldn't have told you what I was going to be doing 4 days out, let alone. Yeah. So, to be that regimented and to think that long term is really, really impressive.
Yeah. And that goes back to a lot of the mentality of a lot of these athletes we talked about, with Michael Phelps knowing what he needs to invest in himself so he can get out of what he wants out of his body, out of himself.
Okay, so Ed, I've come to the fourth one here, and this one is a little more nebulous, but I'm going to see what you can string together from this. Okay,
sure.
I'm looking back over all of the episodes we've done in Stepping Up Service, and the thing that you keep coming back to are these key drivers about customer satisfaction. You keep talking about these 3 words: attitude, process, and product. Now, although that first one, I could definitely see a good relationship with the Olympic Games, I want you to tie all 3 of them to the Olympic Games. So we got attitude, process, and product. What's the tie-in here? How do you make sense of those 3 key phrases for customer satisfaction back to the Olympic Games?
Well, first quick question, is golf in the Summer Olympics still, or is that out?
Oh, I don't know. Unfortunately, my knowledge, both of golf and of the Olympics, are both pretty poor right now. So you got me on that one.
Yeah, I think it's out, and that's a problem because I've used this analogy for golf before. But let me try a different sport.
Okay.
Let me try cycling. Okay.
All right.
So if we think about cycling and we think about attitude, process, and product. I was actually watching. I think it was the first Olympic cycling road race that they had maybe about a week ago, something like that. Not quite a week ago, and these racers were cycling over 100 miles. I remember the announcers kept talking about how these cyclists had their strategies, and they would have all the Great Britain riders were together, and they were trying to do something in the peloton, and the person who was in last in the group of four would move to the front, and then he would ride in front for a while, and then the one in the back would ride to the front. So they were constantly, the announcers were talking about mentally, how are they dealing with having this grueling race, and how are they going to mentally communicate and decide what strategy to use? And many of them were in the Tour de France, and how are they mentally going to deal with this after just coming off of 20 plus stages in the Tour de France? So there was a mental aspect to what they were doing. Okay. Process wise, I mean, you had some racers who were wanting to stay in the peloton, some who were trying to get out in front of the peloton, and the peloton's basically just a big group of bikers that or cyclists that ride together, a big pack. And I guess periodically some of the cyclists would try to get way ahead of the peloton, and that was the way that they were going about conducting their race. So there was a little bit of a process orientation in terms of how they went about racing the race.
Ed,
yes.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt here, but so what you're saying there is it's, although attitude and drive and personal ambition towards the sport is key, but in this situation they really had to be thinking through how something was going to happen, both as a team and for an individual, to make the best outcome for everybody. So it really became more than just everybody do the best they can do. It's really, we've got to work together and have a true process for this event.
Right. And that's a great way to summarize that. And what the interesting thing is, just like in customer service, you could have a great plan going in, you know how you're going to work together, but you know that plan, but the customer doesn't.
Right.
Just like in a road race with these cyclists, they know what their plan is, but they don't really know what the plan of the other 50 or 100 cyclists are going to be. And they don't know what the weather conditions are going to be like, and they don't know how everything's going to transpire. So you have to have a great plan and strategy coming in, but you have to have the mental wherewithal to really adjust as the environment changes too.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
Those are great points you came up with.
Uh-huh.
You're doing this last one for me, Alan. So this is great. You're jumping in there. I need the help sometimes.
Oh boy.
And I guess the last part of it is product. I mean, when you think about bike race in particular, a lot of it's about the bike and the tires and the wheels and the gears and just how it all works in relation to the cyclists themselves. So, essentially what we're talking about is the riders' attitudes, the process they use to compete, the products that they competed with. And these three aspects of performance make up many sports and help to determine the success or failure of that team or that individual in that sport. So just like it's about the attitude of the employee, the process they use to complete, and the products that they compete with, where APP determines their outcomes, their success, it's the same thing with customer service. The employees' attitudes, the processes that they have to work through, the processes that their customers experience, and the actual service itself is what determines what satisfies or dissatisfies the customer.
Ed, you read some books and you see messages sometimes when people talk about providing great customer service, and sometimes it's so tempting to want to relate it to sports and a physical activity or an event. But it really is. I mean, like you're saying, it's extremely similar in terms of you've got to think through this stuff. You've got to have the right attitude for it. You've got to have the right products and things that you're using. The systems have to be in place. You've got to have a fresh mind. I mean, all that, it really is truly very similar when you think about it. Even it may sound cliche to say that, but it truly is similar.
Yeah, especially if you want to be great. And that's what the Olympics are about. It's not the everyday athlete, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately. It's about the best of the best competing to be recognized and win in some objective fashion, the title of the best, the gold medalist. And in business, companies can get by, they can get along with what they do the way they've always done it. But if you want to be the best at something, you gotta do what Michael Phelps is doing, invest in yourself. You got to do what the gymnasts are doing. You got to prepare for each moment. You got to do what the badminton players weren't doing. You have to have the goals that are positive goals, and you have to do what Ryan Lochte was doing. You have to have that long-term focus And then just like these cyclists in this example, you got to realize it's not just about the attitude, it's that employee skills and knowledge. It's about the process, and obviously it's about the product too.
It'd almost be kind of a fun thing for a company, no matter what size, small, large company or anything. When the Olympics roll around, and knowing that there's so many ways to play off that idea of the sport and the preparation and the attitude for it, and kind of making it a little bit of a challenge within the workplace along the same time is treating customer service and delivering this kind of service just like an Olympic game. And, I think sometimes people relate to those kind of examples better, and they get it. They understand what it means to deliver outstanding customer service when you think of it more like preparation for a big sporting event like the Olympics.
Yeah, that's a great point. We often talk about if you want to change your culture, you want to get everybody in the same page, going in the same direction, you need to have a rallying point, some ultimate goal that everybody's working to achieve, and that's the idea of a gold medal in the Olympics. Everybody on that volleyball team, everybody on that hopefully positive badminton team, everybody on that rowing team, they have this ultimate goal. So if you as a small business wanted to say, what would be our gold medal in customer service or customer retention or customer satisfaction success or whatever the case might be, if you can identify what that is, then say, well, what do we need to do with our preparation? What do we need to do with our training? What do we need to do with our goal setting and all these other areas, our attitudes and our processes to really achieve that goal? And you can make kind of a fun exercise to figure out how can I go from good to great in customer service.
Oh, great. Perfect examples and very timely, obviously talking about the Olympics here that are going on as we record. And we've actually got a TV down the hall in our office that has the Olympics on right now. So this is extremely timely conversation. Ed, thanks so much for all the input and thoughts on this. And you did great in the quiz. I think you hit all four of those examples. You tied them right back to the customer service world. I knew you could do it. A couple of them were softballs. I'll give you that much. But the ones that were a little more interesting, you definitely tied those together very nicely.
Yeah, well, that was fun. I appreciate that, Alan.
Sure. And, let's all keep on the lookout because one of these days they're going to be making the dramatic movie about the badminton throwing the game. What was it, 8 Men Out with the baseball? I feel something similar is going to be coming down the pipe. Very dramatic interpretation of this badminton throwing their match. So
sure. And don't you have a podcast like Foot Candle Films or something like that?
I'm glad you mentioned that. Yes, I do.
You could evaluate that movie.
Exactly. I think actually I'm going to go back and write the screenplay right now. So that's where I'm going to go with this. So, that's great. Well, just a couple quick reminders before we wrap up. Thanks again to our sponsor, Greater Hickory Golf Classic, coming up at Rock Barn Golf and Spa here in Hickory, Catawba County, North Carolina, October 8th through the 14th. We'd love to see you visit our area. And if you happen to be in the area in October for the golf tournament, drop us a line here at the Mesh and let us know so we can come out and say hi. If you do want to contact us through the Mesh, you can go to the website, which is www.themesh.tv. Remember to spell out the word "the," so THEMESH.TV. If you got a voice message you want to leave for us, if you're one of those people that would rather talk than type, then you can call us at 828-619-0048 and leave a voice message. We'd be happy to listen to that. And if it's something we can play on a future episode, we'll be happy to do that as well. You can send us an email at info@themesh.tv. And, of course, find us on Facebook or Twitter by searching for The Mesh TV. And for Stepping Up Service, I'm Alan Jackson with the Jackson Group from thejacksongroup.com. Ed Gagnon from Customer Service Solutions. And the website for Ed is cssamerica.com. Is that right, Ed?
That's right. Thanks, Alan.
cssamerica.com to learn more about Ed and Customer Service Solutions. Until next time, we'll see you later. Take care.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.